Welcome back to Yvette's View, where we continue to vibe high on good high vibrations. This is episode 12, and it's entitled Moving in Silence. And as I watched the way I was moving during this shift change, during the separation of 3D to 5D, from my blood family and from that old paradigm mindset in the matrix that I was living, I had to do things differently. And in that, moving in silence was my best therapy, if you will. To even get to the mindset of moving in silence, you have to have certain things kind of tend to happen to usher you into moving in silence. For instance, for me, since I was moving in silence, for me, what happened for me to initially move in silence was the fact that most people didn't understand what I was saying anyway. At one point, I thought I must have been talking alien talk because every time I spoke or indulged in a conversation, they either didn't hear me or they misunderstood what I would be saying. And I did, prior to, have a conversation with my cousin, shout out to my cousin Roz, where as we were just having a basic conversation, just talking, I just thought to myself, and I just expressed it to her, that sometimes I feel like I might be talking some type of alien talk, because the simpler I get, the more they don't understand, and I don't understand how come they are not able to understand the most basic, simplest terms. And I have to say, from that point, I really needed to be very careful about what I speak. Because once I mentioned that and put that out into the universe, that was pretty much what was happening. That taught me at that point, because I had made that announcement that I was speaking alien and nobody was understanding me. It seemed just like that. So I was just like, I need to just be quiet and do what I need to do. I could tell that I was in a different place. That world that I used to be in was crumbling. It no longer benefited me. It no longer gave me what I needed. It wasn't uplifting. It wasn't encouraging. It wasn't supportive. And I needed all of those things. And even though I'm sure it might have appeared that they were in that vein of doing all of those things, it just wasn't a complete benefit. And it was familiar of old patterns, old talking points that literally wouldn't take you nowhere. You would just keep going around that hamster wheel talking about the same thing over and over and over and over. And you've come up with no answers, you've come up with nothing different to do or say, because sometimes living in the past benefits some people, and they like living there. I only go there for, when I need to have a certain reference to make a point. But to live there and to make sure that that is something that I'm gonna stand on and keep a staple on, it just wasn't beneficial for me. As I continued to move in silence, and with that practice of moving in silence it's not that you ignore people, but there's just certain things that you don't need to speak on. If they wanted to know if they want to know what's going on in your life, it's not their business. If they want to know what you're thinking, it's not their business. It's time to protect your own heart, your own dreams, your own creativity. And if you do that, that's going to benefit you. And or at least it benefited me. Giving you my take on that, because moving in silence definitely benefited me by holding on to things that were precious to me and not expounding on that to anyone else. Moving in silence for me didn't have to mean I was ignoring anybody or anything like that. Moving in silence doesn't mean that I'm just walking around on mute. Like I said, you get to talk, but there's just certain things you are not speaking on. And for me, that was new, because I always felt that it would be important to share. You will have experiences that will definitely show you when it's time to move in silence. That's for sure. And I just have to bring this one point in. I remember when I first got back to Oklahoma, and my brother was trying to give me some enlightenment, if you will, or enlighten me about people in the world and how nobody really cares about what you're doing or what you're thinking, or nobody even cares about what's going on with you. Nobody cares about that. So you might as well not tell anybody. And it was amazing that he said that, because when he mentioned that to me, I had already had that in mind. So for that, I was like, oh, well, there's the confirmation right there. He didn't know it, but that was the confirmation that let me know. Don't you say a word about whatever it is you're going to be doing or thinking about doing. Keep it to yourself, because as he said, no one cares. No one. And for me, that meant that included him as well, since it came from his mouth. I said, got it. I said, well, thank you very much for that. And I knew that there were times he wanted to have conversations and talk and bend my ear. I'm not giving anything out, nor do I want to receive anything that's not going to benefit me either. So I kind of gave him what he was giving me. If no one cares about what I'm saying, well, that kind of, let me hold that mirror back up, because I don't care what you're saying. And whatever you're saying, it's for you. Tell that to somebody who wants to hear. Because moving in silence for me was the greatest gift that I could have ever given myself. And once I got that extra confirmation from my brother that I had to thank, I was like, oh, thank you for saying that. Because that's exactly what I intended on doing, is keeping my mouth shut. So thank you for that. You just confirmed what I already knew. Yes, family, moving in silence is a gift. But if you are on anything that's somewhat similar to having miscommunications or people misunderstanding you, then sometimes it's best to just take that time to go within and say, it's time for me to move in silence now. Whatever you're doing, it will show up. When you change and they stay the same, it's fine. Because it's going to be your journey. They're not going to understand it, but it's your journey. You understand it. You're feeling better. You're getting elevated. But just understand that that old paradigm is going to have to fall and crumble. And it reminded me of what my daddy would tell me. He used to tell me all the time, you talk too much. Stop talking. And that's exactly what I started doing, is moving in silence and not speaking too much. So this is it for episode 12. Moving in silence is a beautiful way to accomplish whatever it is you're looking to accomplish. Your dreams, hopes, in your imagination, whatever you're imagining that you want to accomplish, keep it to yourself and work inwardly. And then on the external will show itself. So with that being said, family, continue to vibe high on good high vibrations. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you're notified every time I post a video. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.